Scotland's first reported case of alien abduction took centre stage at the 8th Annual UFO Congress held recently in Sheffield, England. Scottish UFO researcher Malcolm Robinson revealed details of his case history of a unique abduction experience. It was a terrifying encounter that occurred in 1992, when Garry and Colin Wright claimed that they were abducted together from a wooded area on the outskirts of Edinburgh.
They contacted numerous societies in England for someone to take them seriously, and I can't believe that nobody got in touch with these gentlemen.
Robinson was the first researcher to suggest that Wood and Wright be interrogated separately, and that they undergo hypnosis to see if even their subconscious memories would match. They did.
It was just terror. Vivid memories seemed to arise. Beings, being in some form of a room, being on some form of a platform with these big creatures. There's small ones and big ones around me, doing things to me.
It is only now that their case is being revealed at conferences like this one in Sheffield that Wood and Wright feel they can begin to recover from the unexplained events of August 17th, 1992.
I feel more comfortable now, rather than being up all night, terrified and scared.
Ufologists from around the world are particularly intrigued by this Scottish case because the two abductees are men who had not been exposed previously to the alien abduction phenomenon or the details revealed by other abductees under hypnosis.
I believe in the sincerity of these two gentlemen. This really did happen. And it's the only case in Scotland to take me off the proverbial fence into believing that perhaps, and it's a big word perhaps, humankind is indeed interacting with some form of alien intelligence.
I'd like to come to you, Garry and Colin. You say that you were abducted by aliens. You were driving along on your way to visit a friend, perfectly normal day. Tell us about it.
Well, in the first place, me myself, I was a sceptic. I thought it was all like rubbish. It's not a thing I really dwelled on because I never had time for it in my life. Driving along the road one night with Colin, the satellite system went faulty. I had a friend that was going to repair it.
Yeah.
We left it around about 10 o'clock at night, the road, and chatting about general things, and then Colin made me aware of something on the road. And then what we seen on the road was this object floating 20 feet above the road. I actually seen the object, my reaction was, what can it be? It didn't conform to any type vehicle, any helicopter, plane, anything I've ever seen before. And I just started to get really frightened.
And what did you see? Is it possible for you to describe it for us?
We saw this craft that was floating 20 feet in the air. The road was 22 feet wide. The craft must have been about 35 to 40 feet wide. I couldn't be specific on the exact size. It had a shape to it. It was had a disc shape to it, but it actually had like 3 mouldings to it, as if there was a pattern. There was a definite outlay. It looked solid and it looked metallic.
Yeah. And what happened to you?
I got really scared. I thought to myself, these things aren't supposed to exist. Knowing nothing about the subject and seeing films, as these gentlemen say, I thought, coming into my head, stupid as it is, I thought monsters. So I panicked. I crashed the gearbox in my car. I accelerated to go underneath the object, which I could start to see the underneath it. As I was going underneath it, it dropped a shimmering curtain of light, basically like the offset channel of a TV, like a twinkling beam.
Yeah.
When we impacted the beam of light, suddenly I'm in my car. I'm thinking, where's Colin? Where's my car? And it's like I'm standing. I should be in my car. I've done that with my arm, no car. I'm looking about, thinking, what's happened? Being there, where in the darkness, I thought, I'm dead.
And then what?
Then suddenly, we're in the car, we're on the wrong side of the road, the back of the car's bouncing about the road, heading up towards the embankment. We headed to our destination. I didn't look back at all. I turned around to Colin because Colin was in a state because I was driving really fast. And Colin says to me, my seatbelt's off, which was unusual. Colin always wears a seatbelt in the car with me. We got to our destination. I rolled the window down to see if this object had followed us. We both got out of the car, headed to Katrina's door. When we got to Ian and Katrina's, they actually opened the Velux window, looked out, and we told them what had happened. Katrina and Ian, they burst out laughing. But the problem we have with this what took place was from Edinburgh to Tarbrax is approximately a half-hour, 45-minute journey. We left just after 10. We arrived at Katrina's house at 1:45 in the morning.
Right.
Now, I spoke to Stuart Campbell on this about the missing time, and he says, you must be mistaken. What kind of answer is that for a man?
But do you know what you've significantly missed out? You haven't told us what happened between the time that you hit the light and the time that you were back on the road heading for your friends. What do you say happened in that time?
Well,
That's what I'm
Colin,
doing.
yeah.
Well, it only seemed seconds. I mean, we had no choice in the matter. I mean, this craft, whatever, was there. All we could do was go underneath it. We couldn't go back. There was a bad bend.
But you saw a craft, but did you see who was manning it?
No, it was just like a silhouette, but you could make
This
out
is pretty
the shape.
typical. This is pretty
Yeah,
typical of
carry
these
on.
abduction stories because
I'll let a guy
because-
finish.
I'd just like to interject.
We'll ask you in a minute.
Just one second, David. Everybody seems to want to
Well,
hear the
As I
end
say,
of
it only felt like seconds.
it only felt like 15 seconds. And they both felt really odd after the experience. But after it happened, I mean, we were a bit embarrassed talking about it. Katrina was going to actually phone the police and that. And I says, you know, I mean, you talk about it, it's really embarrassing. I didn't want this to happen in my life.
And do you must be aware that I'm sure you've told people and they've said, oh, you're off your head.
Well, what I done was I got in touch with a man called Malcolm Robinson, who's there, and I got in touch with some other people, clinical psychologists, various other people, to try and find out what happened to me and Colin. It's not something we wanted in our life. It's not something we were ever aware of. It wasn't even our interest. Malcolm explained and actually says that this phenomena happens. This has happened to other people, not just you.
Okay. David.
Two things that have worked for humanity very well for a million years have now, in modern time days, gone wrong. Those two things are our imagination, our proclivity to be imaginative, and also whenever fear and fright and panic comes into things, reality is distorted, and perception of time, perception of space, these are all distorted. We are all sort of, it's kind of genetic. It's part of our evolution that we need to be, in the past, we needed to be very hyper aware and suspicious and a bit superstitious as well, because the environment was very dangerous. The environment is no longer dangerous, so we're now looking for things. We're so aware, we're looking for things out there to be frightened of.
If you're driving a vehicle at 60 miles an hour, panicking, as you say, am I suddenly nowhere? Why did I not run into the wall? Why did I not run into up the banking? Why did I not lose control of the car?
And what is going to scare him enough to do that? To make, or even as you presume, he's making that up.
What he saw frightened him.
But what are you going to say he saw? And
What he
floating
saw,
20 feet above the road,
the
a
way that
flying
you
cow.
interpreted it, you could have been blacked out. You could have both blacked out.
Driving a car at 60 miles an hour?
You
Well,
could have
why
been
am I
very
still
lucky.
here?
Very lucky.
Can I just say,
Because people do.
I'm a normal person. What have I got to gain about making a story up like that? I mean, I was minding my own business, talking to Garry.
They've had nothing. They've had nothing but ridicule. They've had their jobs
Jill,
straight.
yeah, carry on.
I'm after attention. I'm after answers. I'm after answers to
Aberdeen
that.
Planetarium. I work in the Aberdeen Planetarium, and we have quite a lot of stories like this. It's all down to perception of reality. Now, if somebody sees an alien, you can't really tell them that they haven't. Why is your perception of reality any better than theirs?
And you
It can
guys,
happen to me just as
saw
easily as-
Why are you being
aliens.
so?
Is
Why
that
is
what
this
you're
side being
saying?
so condescending?
I'm on
Where
the side
we
of
had
space
the
flight. I
problem?
believe
Where we had the
I think you
problem?
should.
David, just
I'm
say-
pro space flight.
He'll tell us what he saw. Just a second.
Where we had the problem is we had actually time missing. We went back, Malcolm, he questioned everybody involved in it. We went to see Katrina and Ian, and we tried to work out exactly. I'm not going to go to somebody's house at 1:45 in the morning. I'm not going to lose control of a car for an hour and a half. Where am I going to drive? Don't be so stupid. Happens all the time. There'll be a lot of accidents in the world.
Time travels at different speeds for different people. When you're very absorbed in something that you're very interested in, the time goes faster. When you're absolutely bored out of your skull, time goes very slow. And when you're frightened,
The guy's not bored out
it's
his skull.
distorted.
He's out doing a job.
Could I just verify? The gentleman said that when people are in fear, time it gets distorted in reality. I'm investigating a case in North Wales where a chap was lost for 2 hours, and his mother actually reported him to the police, and he was cowering behind a wall in Llangollen. That wasn't certainly time distorted. He was missing for 2 hours.
It is important to realise that there are certain events that we then try to interpret.
and our friends here are interpreting them. And, that is fine. I mean, but, what we've got to decide is to what extent the interpretation is true or false or acceptable or not acceptable. And, that's the basis of how we deal with our life in general terms.
Malcolm.
I've spoken to many, many people throughout Great Britain on cases pertaining to UFO abductions, and I'm convinced of the sincerity of these two individuals. We used a hypnotherapist, hypnotic regression, to see if perhaps there were any other hidden subconscious memories of that night, and there were. It was a typical abduction scenario unfolded in which the car was stopped on the road and the two gentlemen were then taken, presumably, to this object, and they were experimented on some form of clinical or medical experimentation. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous. I think it sounds ridiculous, but the growing weight of testimony from not only this country, but from Canada, Venezuela, Paraguay, all over the world, these cases are similar. But there is a case to be answered here. This is a bend that we were driving round at the time of the incident. It's a blind bend, and it's got a hill at the side to block any view. On the other side of the road there's a field, loads of farm animals, a small burn in trees. This is me just coming to the top of the bend where there's still no real visible. This is me actually on the bend. This is me round the bend, and this is where the incident took place. Stand in the middle of the road, Colin. This is where the actual incident happened. This area here, straight above us. I'm actually turning round to look at the other end of the road. As you can see, small blind bend. This is the surrounding area.
With me is Malcolm Robinson, one of the country's foremost paranormal researchers, and Garry Wood, who believes he was himself abducted. Now, Garry, tell me, what happened?
Well, me and my friend Colin Wright, we were heading towards a place called Tarbrax from Oxgangs to there. It's a half-hour drive. I was looking at this object just floating about 20 feet above the road.
How big was this object?
Well, I measured the road afterwards. The road was 22 feet wide. The object must have been about 30 odd feet wide.
So it was huge?
It was fairly big in size. When seeing the object, in my mind, it didn't conform to any helicopter or any vehicle I've seen before. It was just a craft of some sort, and then for some reason I just got really frightened, really scared.
I'm not surprised. And what happened?
As I went underneath the object, the craft emitted like a shimmering curtain, like a beam of some light, and then everything went black. And I wasn't in the car, I couldn't see Colin, I'm standing up, I'm looking about, and just blackness, looking about. This went on about 10, 15 seconds, and I thought, again, am I dead?
And then what happened after that?
Then after that, I'm in the car, and the back end of the car's fronting out, and it's heading right across the road up towards the embankment.
So you went into a skid, and then, I mean, how long did all that take?
Initially, I thought it took 15 seconds. The time for I entered, saw the craft going into it, this like blackness with a shimmering curtain and that, and then on the road again. When I got to my destination, I actually got there about 1:45 in the morning.
So that was like 2 hours after you
Well, an hour
left.
odd, so I'm not particularly absolutely certain on the exact time.
Okay, well, Malcolm, I mean, you've investigated a number of weird happenings, unexplained happenings.
Yeah.
Is this a typical story?
It's fairly typical of UFO research and encounters of this nature worldwide. You know, they do not always happen in Scotland. They happen in Venezuela, Paraguay, America, Canada. It's very, very similar to other cases that I'm aware of, yes.
But Scotland does appear to be reporting hundreds of weird incidents that you can't really explain.
Yeah, I've noticed in my research there is a wealth of UFO reports. Over the past 7 years, Scotland has been gripped in this UFO fever, if you want to call it that. But clearly there is something very, very unusual occurring in the skies of Scotland, which do not conform to conventional type aircraft or helicopters.
No, that's what people are going to say. They're going to say, oh, it's, well, you know, Bonnie Bridge was the place where it was all happening. They're going to say it's gas explosions out the bings there, or it's up by Lookers or something, so it's planes flying overhead. But couldn't it be explained by things like that?
Well, it's fair to say that 95% of all UFO reports have natural, identifiable solutions. We're basically only talking about a small 5%. But that 5% taken on a global basis does indeed do quite a considerable sum, you know. But there is something tangible going on here in Scotland, something that defies description. And our society are hopeful that we can provide some form of satisfactory explanation to account for what's going on.
Just having a look around the audience. Who believes in all this? Who believes in UFOs? Stick your hands up. You do. Has anyone ever seen anything in the sky? You see, there's a bit of a, I'm not quite sure at the back there. It does appear to be one of these things that people don't believe in until they've had some first-hand knowledge of it. I mean, why are we so skeptical?
Well, I think if people actually sat down and looked at the evidence, the hard, raw data of evidence, they'd be very, very much surprised, because there truly is something behind these sightings. As I mentioned a moment ago, that the vast majority do indeed have natural explanations, but there is this hardcore residue of reports which absolutely defy explanation. And they're fascinating. The reports coming from Bonnie Bridge are in the main low-level, close proximity UFO sightings that are above rooftops of houses, sightings that are so close that you could more or less throw a stone at. And we have video testimony, we have pictorial testimony through photographs, and also witness testimony. But there's something tangible going on in the skies of Scotland.
Garry, do you think that they will ever investigate this in an official capacity? Do you ever see that happening?
The amount of people that are actually involved in researching it is growing and growing all the time. Things seem to be coming up a lot more often.
So you see a day when perhaps we'll know more about it?
Most definitely.
Okay. Well, Garry, Malcolm, thank you very much for joining us tonight.